Welcome to the Apply Pressure Podcast with yours truly, Transformer Chris. Here, we dig deep and go beyond the surface, uncover what's hidden, talk straight, no fluff, share secrets, give advice, and keep it all the way real regarding life. Listen, sis, I know you be busy doing what you do, but child boo, I really need to talk to you. The hardest thing to do is change when your mind is physically stuck. Research shows that about 75% of our people are suffering from mental paralysis. And a lot of it has to do with the lack of brain exercise, finding the right things to actively engage in, and challenging ourselves to push past the limitations of opposition. The mind is formed by the collection of thoughts and perceptions, by the collection of memories and emotions and imputed data. So how we see life is a result of how we internalize things, and how we think gets portrayed through our actions. This is why it is so important for us to renew our minds daily, because literally a series of intense events that a person experiences could be so catastrophic that it ends up imprisoning them to that particular time capsule of life if they never learn to think themselves out of it. The mind is that influential to the body. In order for us to offset the negative impact of our brains, we have to do what's called brain development. The brain is the driving force of the mind. A good practice that I have implemented into my day-to-day activities is setting aside time to attend the brain gym. Now, do I actually get up and go to a known establishment or institution? No. But what I do is I create an environment where I strategically use resources that I have access to, and I work out with my mind. Creating an environment is so simple. It's as simple as you identifying where you do your best thinking at. A place where you are able to be creative and get innovation from. Finding a spot that has minimal distractions where you can meditate and get downloads and revelation from God. Tuning into literature that gets your wheels spinning. Brainstorming new ideas and weighing the pros and cons of it. Focusing on developing solutions to some of the problems that the world faces every day. All of these are ways to strengthen your cognitive skills. Now, let me just shift gears really quick because I don't want to skip this next step. It may not seem as textbook as those other things, but it is just as important. One of the most simplest ways that is often overlooked that you can do to increase your mental fitness is work on your mood. More than half of what you don't accomplish is because of your mood. Add putting yourself in a positive mood to your daily morning routine and see what happens. That's what intentionality looks like. You getting up in the morning and dictating to your emotions rather than letting them boss you around. Find what makes you happy, what brings you joy. Where do you find peace? Start there. For some, it may be physical exercise to get your adrenaline pumping. Others may only need a cozy cup of coffee. If you're like me, I like walks and sitting by the water. What does it look like for you? That's what you need to start doing. Some of you guys may be listening and thinking, that's too much. Like, that's silly. Ain't nobody got time for all that. And for those of you that are thinking like that, let me just say this. If you don't think that your state of being is vital to growth and the overall mastery of life, that right there highlights the fact that we all may need more mental fitness than we care to admit. Success in life is not a dollar sign. It's a mindset. Hear me when I tell you that we have to get our minds right. mind control is evolutionary. Just when you think you've mastered it, it creates room for even more development. To give you all an example, and I'm going to use myself because I like to be inclusive in what I'm sharing. This is actually my way of making my life lessons teachable. So with everything that I've discussed thus far pertaining to this topic, it would appear as though I've learned my fair share regarding mental fitness, right? Well, here is why I say it's evolutionary and why I believe the Bible tells us to renew our minds daily. Because our frame of mind is the one thing that has to be applied in every scenario of our lives. And here's my example. Just the other day, when I was coming up with the content for this episode, I got up early in the morning, right? And I shared this post on my social media page about mental fitness. And then I defined it for myself. I defined it as being another form of exercise, as being strength of the mind, intellectually sound, and having skillful brain activity. I then intentionally mapped out a game plan of how I was going to take charge of my day that day. I was like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to pray, I'll meditate, then eat some breakfast, then I want to do a little workout, read a chapter of my book of the month, walk the dog. After that, I'll come back, do some content development, then a little bit of housework, and finally chill out and catch one of my favorite shows by noon before the kids come home from school. Now, I want y'all to give me a second because I promise I'm going somewhere with this. So, as I'm going about my day, checking off my list, I get all the way to the walking of the dog part. And while I was outside, I noticed some of my neighbors grouped together having a discussion. And then I turned the corner and 3 police cars came riding by, heading in that same direction. Now I'm inquisitive, wondering like, what happened? So just as I was compelled to double back and be nosy, I got a revelation of how easy it is to be distracted and shift focus. Like, since when did I become neighborhood watch? Like, really? Just that fast. If I wasn't in the right headspace, I could have offset the rest of my tasks with something that 9 times out of 10 was meaningless to me. Guys, listen, I'm trying to help somebody out here. Many of your visions and your dreams and goals go undone because you're easily distracted and haven't been in the proper mindset to even notice it. Another thing that happened to me this week that coincidentally involves the dog again, which must mean that I need some more human friends in my life, because while I do all of my stories involve the dog. But anyway, we have this big field behind our house that nobody ever really uses. So we bought like a 50-foot chain where we can hook the dog up to and, let him run and play in the field. Just to give him something to do, let him burn some energy sometimes. Well, one of our neighbors decided that they wanted to report the dog being chained up back there as being an issue. So now the HOA, they shared with us all of the, bylaws and regulations about chaining, the dog up to common areas and the noise. In this case, it would have been occasional barking, how it could potentially be a disturbance to the neighbors, all in which we completely understood. But my reason for sharing this today is because my mindset was struggling to accept what they were saying because my ego was offended. I was in my bag about it. I felt like, mind your business. Like, the dog ain't bothering y'all. And literally nobody uses this field. And he's chained up. So it's not like he posed a threat to anyone. But that wasn't the point. The point was to right the wrong so that I wasn't going against the guidelines of the community. Now, how many of y'all fail to renew your minds because you are too emotionally attached to the wrong to make it right? Or too attached to the way you're used to doing things rather than switching it up to do it a better way? Sometimes all it takes is the little nuances to show us exactly where we stand, exactly who we are, how far we've come, and how much further we have to go. I had 1,000,000 points to argue, but only one chance of responding correctly. And that small adjustment, honestly, if I'm being honest, it was a big pill to swallow, y'all. Right isn't always easy, especially when you're in your head about it. In the first example I shared, for me, it was, me getting caught up being nosy that could have been my distraction. For you, it may be that phone call that comes through right when you say you're about to get some work done. Or that notification that pings, letting you know that you've been tagged in a social media post at the very moment that you convinced yourself to start studying. Maybe it's the company buying the employees pizza the day that you said you were going to start eating better. Y'all know it happens all the time. It's all the same in regards to mentality. It's programming you to go against your original intent. What I'm trying to get you all to understand today is, if you want to see a positive change in your life, if you want to start receiving results to your problems, not just constantly looking at the problems, but actually getting the results to make a difference. If you want to live life better than you have in the past, then there's no getting around it. You have to challenge yourself daily to get your mind right, because it will play tricks on you if you let it.
Okay, ladies, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you stay caught up and don't miss out on what's next. If you're enjoying this atmosphere, be sure to go and leave your girl a review. That way this platform can continue to evolve and build a strong network of empowered women of purpose. Until next time, hop over to my website. Make sure you subscribe and capture all the latest products and free giveaways by visiting www.crystalmetellus.com. Also, connect with me on social media @crystalmetellus. Talk to you later, sis.